The God of Destruction Champa arc was our first look at new material from Dragon Ball Super, but the truth is that just because something is new does not necessarily mean that it's good. And on this video, we continue the best and worst of Dragon Ball Super series as Dimsy and I give you guys our 3 worst episodes, or at least, I guess, our 3 least favorite episodes of the God of Destruction Champa arc, otherwise known as the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. We reminisce on all of this next.
Greetings everyone, Cell here. Subscribe to this perfect channel and follow Geekdom on the social media platforms. That will be all.
You know, Dimsy, it's interesting because when we're doing this video, I did do a Talk Dragon Ball reviewing the entire arc. And of course, on my channel, I have individual episode reviews. You know what I noticed about this arc is that as a whole, the arc really isn't that good. And there are a lot of issues with build-up and the payoffs are kind of really bad. But the individual episodes can be a lot of fun. I mean, there were bad ones, but I feel like with this arc, the individual episodes stand out more than the overall arc. It's kind of weird when you think about it like that. What do you think?
There's a disconnection between the episodes and it's very, very evident. That's why when we see later on in the next arc where there was one quick scene which kind of hinted at or showed the Universe 6 arc, it made it so we're trying to establish a connection between these episodes and there really isn't a strong enough connection. That's the reason why, as you said, individually, some of them could be phenomenal, some of them are just okay, but overall, it's underwhelming.
I thought it was underwhelming as well overall. And of course, everybody should check out the Dimsy's domain. I'm going to leave a link in the description as always. As always, guys, we're going to do the 3 best and 3 worst. The 3 worst on this video. And we're covering Super episodes 28 all the way to episodes 43. Now, obviously, the 3 worst are the Potafu ones, 44, 45, and 46. They're horrible. That was the worst arc in Dragon Ball Super history, in my opinion. But I figure Dimsy and I, if we're gonna do this video, we're both gonna pick those 3 episodes, so that's boring. So instead, we're gonna just ignore those 3 episodes. It's a mini filler arc that doesn't count and it was horrible anyways. We're gonna throw that out the window. We're gonna actually talk about 3 episodes during the saga, during the tournament, during the build-up to it, you know, rather than focus on that. You know what I mean? It's more fun that way.
Well, I guess if I were to begin, the 3rd worst one is still somewhat of a cop-out because it's episode 42, a tumultuous victory celebration, facing off at last, Monaka vs Son Goku. Yes, this was after the tournament itself, and you'd think, you know, there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It was underwhelming, it was very light-hearted. Even though we were teased with Goku vs Beerus round 2, what stood out for me was it was highlighting the stupidity and the oblivious nature, the nonchalant nature of Goku. How he couldn't notice that, firstly, Monaka wasn't strong, and secondly, hey, it's actually Beerus who's in this oversized Monaka suit. It kind of, stood out for me. I'm not saying it was the absolute worst, but in this arc, I just didn't like it. The comedy just didn't work out for me. Monaka is a fun character, but he has to be used very, very, very sparingly. One of the reasons why Champa was so effective was he has the presence of, when he's angry, he's dangerous, but when he's funny, he is just out of this world. Monaka he's just a passenger who is the butt of the jokes. Like, do you remember during the arc, he was asleep. People were thinking, oh, he's meditating, but he was just unconscious from fear. Just Monaka, I was getting tired of him. Throughout the arc, I got bored of him. I knew he was a flop. I was expecting him to be somewhat of a strong guy with his small demeanor, but actually he was actually weak. I thought maybe it's classic Toriyama, but no, he's actually a weakling. And then we had this little party, which was boring for me. What's your number 3? Or what do you think,
Well, I just want to say that I do agree with you. I didn't hate the episode, but there were a lot of issues. Like, there were some funny visuals in the episode. Like, the idea of Beerus being in the Monaka suit and it ripping was very funny. I thought they made Goku even dumber than he normally is. I mean, Goku's kind of a country bumpkin, not very smart other than fighting. They made him even more dumb in this episode. Also, the idea that Chaozu could hold Goku back with a telekinesis. Yeah. I don't care how strong his telekinesis is, bro. You're talking to a guy who's tapped into god power. Like, give me a fucking break. I agree. I don't know about, it's definitely not on my list, but I see your point, and it's not an episode that I'm going to be revisiting too much, even though there were a lot of really funny stuff in the episode. The concept was good. It's just it could have been done better.
Yeah,
So
I
there you
agree.
go. My number 3 worst episode is actually episode 40, the conclusion at last, who will prevail, Beerus or Champa. And I'll tell you why. It's very similar to why you picked 40, what, 2? Because
Yep.
Monaka was, the idea of Monaka being a flop was kind of, it was somewhat contrived, I felt. But I accepted it. I thought that the idea that Hit would change so fast from desperately wanting the cube to just not really caring. I didn't like that. I thought it was too drastic of a change. There should have been more of a build up. The idea that Goku just quit the tournament because he felt he was being manipulated, I didn't like that either. It's just there was stuff in this episode that just kind of was like a big letdown. Like the tournament, I think could have had 4 or 5 different endings that were similar and executed better. Like I think Hit should have probably eliminated Goku maybe on a technicality or something, and then had Monaka, Hit somehow throw the fight for a different reason or something. I just thought it wasn't executed very well. I was not a fan of this episode, and it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I was kind of salty about it, to be honest with you. What do you think?
The thing is, I kind of like the fact that Goku highlighted that, hey, look, we're just puppets in this game amongst the gods. What I hated is what you said. It completely destroys the meaning and hits motivation for the cube. The cube, I thought, was the only way to traverse different universes, and the relevance of the cube, it could have been such a massive, a plot device going forward, as we have been introduced to all 12 universes, and then we were introduced to Zeno as well. So I thought the cube is going to make it's going to be very important, but then Hit doesn't care about the cube, and the cube just becomes completely irrelevant. They wasted it. And Monaka, I said my piece on Monaka. I got bored of him by that time, and I was extra bored from my pick earlier. I just underwhelming.
Yeah, underwhelming. What is your number 2 of the worst
My number
episodes of this
2.
arc?
All right, my number 2 is episode 33. Be surprised, Universe 6. This is Super Saiyan Son Goku. What happened in this fight? Well, it was the Botamo and Goku fight, and this is where Botamo lost in the first half, and it makes you think: are these Universe 6 fighters, are they chumps, or is a large portion of the fighters, are they going to be weaklings, and we just have the guy that looks like a badass Hit? Is he the main one?
Yeah, but also what I thought was cool, I just want to say one thing, is that they all had these special abilities that could make them dangerous. Like, not just the poison dart, but also the fact that Botamo could warp your blows to a different dimension. That's very useful in combat, Dimsy.
Supposedly, they didn't really confirm if it's going to be...
Yeah, I know, you're right.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing. They could have played up on the fact of he has this pretty much ultimate defense. They done it with Magetta. Why couldn't they do it with Botamo, with Goku? Yes, it's a bit ingenious to find out that Goku is kind of underhanded, where he took the easy route where he defeated Botamo. But the main thing was actually, this was also the start of Goku versus Frost. I felt like them finishing up and wrapping up the first fight within the first 15 minutes, they could have easily prolonged this fight to one episode. I hated it, and Botamo became irrelevant. No one cares about Botamo. Even Magetta, even though he was like a afterthought during the arc itself, he became a loved one. Everyone hates Botamo. Everyone hates Botamo. Well, I hate Botamo. Do you hate Botamo?
I don't hate him. I just thought that because you never know what they might do with him later. I don't hate him, but one thing I will say about what you're talking about is that I felt that, and this might skew my opinion, but I felt that the manga version of this fight was significantly better. It was just the way Toru drew it. In the anime, it was boring. He was just throwing punches. It was very repetitive and stupid. In the manga, I thought the fight was so much better. I mean, I liked the idea of Goku throwing Botamo out the way he did, but I just thought the manga fight seemed a lot more exciting. The anime really blew it. And this is during the time when the animation was really weird. Like, it wasn't terrible. It was just kind of like wonky and lazy. It wasn't like, before where it was really bad, just kind of like uncomfortable. How about that?
Yeah, I completely agree.
So my number 2 is right around the same kind of era. Episode 34, Piccolo versus Frost, bet everything on the Makankosappo. I didn't like it. I thought it was boring. Piccolo trying just the one move and not really doing anything was dumb to me. I did not like that at all. I thought that the reveal of the dart was dumb. it just bored me to tears, and they never really explained how Piccolo was able to even remotely compete with him, because you have third form Frost, having a decent fight with SS. Well, Super Saiyan Goku, just gold hair, but of course he's already been training under Whis, and just the power scaling in Super was just fucked, and in this episode it was continuing to be fucked, and they need to find better ways to utilize Piccolo, and this is not one of the better ways, and it was a waste. Like, he was in there, it was a complete waste, bro. It was a waste of Piccolo and kind of a waste of Frost too. I did not like this episode.
Yeah, I don't like the reveal of Frost having the poison dart. It's stupid. What they could have done is somehow maybe poison the opponent's ki, something like Naruto, where they take away the gates as the the Hyuga clan do it. But the point is, the fact that Piccolo was in the same conversation in terms of combat ability as Frost is stupid, but I've become numb to the power scaling. I enjoyed Piccolo trying his best to use that one move. I like the fact that Piccolo has no other choice but to use this one move, so he tried to grab Frost by, enlarging his arms, elongating his arms, and I like that side, but it just wasn't effective at the end.
It was just kind of, and it looked weird too.
Yeah, it's just
like, you would think Piccolo would be smarter than this.
And then he done pretty much like a was it like a hallucination thing? Not a hallucination, but a mirage technique where there's multiple Piccolos around.
He's trying shit that hasn't been relevant in like several years.
but then isn't that nice? As in they're trying to make Piccolo relevant as he's utilizing his intellect, which Super Buu highlighted, but it just didn't work. When you're speaking about these individuals who are at such a high level, it doesn't work like that.
Agreed. Yeah. It doesn't work. Yeah. I'm not a big fan. So what is your number one? Worst episode of this arc?
The worst episode of this arc is undisputed, and it has to be episode 32. The matches begin, everyone head to the Nameless planet. Now you're thinking,
I'm starting to think that you hate Botama more than everybody else, bro.
Nah, but no, okay. No, but the thing
I think it's you, bro.
Okay, look. The thing is, you can say, and everyone else can say down in the comment, "Oi, episode 32 is where we saw bearded Goku and bearded Vegeta." But think of it like this: we had 2 time skips. We had them training supposedly in the time chamber, and then they done the written test, and then they skipped straight to the fight itself. It's too much, and it's too compact, and it just didn't work. It was far too rushed. They didn't. Okay. I was thinking, I done a video with Woking Kanji about this, how they could have capitalized on, if they were to make Goku and Vegeta's training in the hyperbolic time chamber into one full episode, they could have easily done that. We want to see the interaction between Goku and Vegeta where they're completely on their own, not when they're under the supervision of, let's say, someone like Whis or Beerus or whatever, but just them on their own. I think they could have capitalized on so many things there. They could have even put one whole episode of them traveling to the Nameless planet, or one whole episode of them doing the written test. We see Buu being a complete flop, an absolute useless idiot.
It was so pointless.
Yeah, so they highlighted the pointless nature of not being able to capitalize on the training, the stupid written test, and it being so damn rushed. That's not right. And the interactions whilst they're traversing to the Nameless planet within the cube itself could have been capitalized. I think it was the biggest wasted opportunity, and by rushing it affected the rest of the arc. And once again, I want to highlight what we said earlier: the disconnection between the episodes. There was a disconnection between this episode in itself. It didn't work. It didn't flow. It didn't integrate.
I mean, I don't hate this episode as much as you, because this is the episode that had Goku and Vegeta with beards and fighting in MMA gloves. Yeah. So I don't hate that. I really don't. I don't know if I agree with you on this one, man. We're gonna have to disagree. I don't hate this episode. I don't think it's that bad. Like, I know that there are some issues with the story. I agree with you on that.
2 time skips, and it was so compact.
Yes, I know it. I agree with the pacing being bad, but I don't think the episode itself was that bad. Like, I just can't find myself hating this episode. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Is that I'm not saying you're wrong, but
I'm biased towards Majin Buu and how he's so underutilized. It pissed me off.
Well, so am I, and Boltama was too. My number one is episode 30, without question. Rehearsal for the martial arts match. Who are the two remaining members? When you're doing a clip show, it's already bad enough when you do a clip show in Dragon Ball or in any show. But when you're doing a clip show where you're recapping stuff from literally 2 episodes ago, that's horrible. Like, honestly, that's absolutely embarrassing. This episode pissed me off and everybody else off, I remember so badly, because we got no new information except that Gohan has potential and can't train. That's all we got from this episode. It was embarrassing. It was horrible. The less said about it, the better. I have nothing else to add to it. It was a fucking clip show. It was a clip show and a waste of time. That being said, I'd rather watch it 10 times than watch the Potafu stuff.
Exactly, but that's the thing. I thought if we're gonna omit the Potafu arc, I thought this is gonna be a given. I thought that's the reason I never picked this. This was horrible, and nothing more can be said because nothing new was introduced to us in this episode. It's a useless episode, waste of our time.
Terrible.
He does that.
So that's it, folks. Those were our 3 worst episodes of Dragon Ball Super: The Champa arc.
It was an honor to be here, and I think we gave our arguments and our opinions very well, and I'm so interested to see how they respond. Especially, we've disagreed a few times during this little series on the episodes.
Yes.
So I want to see who they side with, or who, if they give a completely different episode, or what their order is. So
yes, let us know down below in the comments. Remember to go subscribe to Dimsy's Domain. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. We'll talk to y'all down that road.